satellite data flags intensified US military flights near Venezuela. US defense officials confirmed the activity but declined to give further details. At 3:42 a.m. over the open Caribbean Sea, the sky looked empty. No lights, no radio traffic, no civilian signals. Then radar operators along the coast began seeing something they could not explain. At 52,000 feet, a B-2 Spirit was already moving west, steady and silent, at roughly 560 miles per hour. The aircraft flew over international waters with its transponder off, holding a straight line that left almost no clear radar return. Below, the ocean stayed calm. Above, the silence felt heavy. Instead of backing off, Venezuelan coastal systems stayed focused on the area, not because they had a clean track, but because the signals made no sense. A faint return appeared, then vanished, then reappeared miles away in a different direction. Inside command rooms, warning tones began to sound. Distance markers tightened. Operators refreshed screens faster. No one spoke loudly. Every second mattered now. This was not a navigation mistake. This was not routine traffic. This was a controlled presence, placed exactly where it would be noticed but not touched. And in that moment, no one on the ground fully understood what kind of response they were being drawn into. If you want to follow this situation as it develops step by step, stay with us, because this was only the opening move. The Caribbean is not a quiet backyard. It is a narrow stretch of air and water where radar coverage never sleeps and response times are measured in minutes, not hours. That is why this flight mattered far beyond what most people saw on the surface. The B-2 Spirit did not fly this route by accident. Staying over international waters keeps the mission legal. Flying high keeps it safe. Holding a straight, predictable line forces every defense system watching to reveal how it thinks and how fast it reacts. For us planners, this area offers something rare: clean data. Every radar sweep, every electronic adjustment, every delay tells a story. For Venezuelan crews, the meaning is different. This was not just another alert on a screen. It was hours of pressure, broken sleep, and constant uncertainty. Operators had to make decisions without clear targets. Pilots waited in cockpits knowing they might be ordered up against something they could not see. That kind of stress wears on people fast. Strategically, this moment sits inside a larger pattern. US military presence in the Caribbean has increased over the past few weeks, and Venezuela knows it. This flight tested more than hardware. It tested command discipline, coordination, and restraint. Could systems stay calm under confusion? Could leaders avoid a move that might spiral out of control? Nothing exploded, but a line was drawn. One side demonstrated reach and control. The other was forced to respond without clarity. That imbalance is the real message behind the flight. If you think Venezuela was right to push back, comment 1. If you believe US air dominance made escalation pointless, comment 9. And subscribe to stay with us as this confrontation continues. The first signs do not come as a clear warning. They come as confusion. On a coastal radar screen, a faint mark flickers for less than a second. It is too weak to track, too clean to ignore. The operator refreshes the sweep. The mark is gone. He refreshes again. It comes back, several miles off the previous line. Phones start ringing across the room. Reports overlap. Bearings do not match. Inside air defense centers near Punto Fijo and Puerto Cabello, supervisors lean over shoulders, watching screens that refuse to settle. One technician labels the contact as possible stealth. That single word changes the tone of the room. Orders move fast now. Air defense units shift to alert posture. Power levels rise. Backup systems come online. Pilots flying Su-30 Mk-2 fighters are called to readiness. Helmets on. Engines warmed. Missiles already loaded under the wings. But still, no scramble order. Someone asks for confirmation. Someone else asks for range. No one has a clean answer. The contact does not behave like a normal aircraft. It does not turn away. It does not accelerate. It does not descend. At 52,000 feet, the B-2 Spirit keeps its course unchanged. Electronic noise begins to build. Certain radar bands lose definition. Tracking boxes slide off target. Operators switch frequencies, then switch again. Each change costs seconds. Those seconds feel long. Civilian systems near the coast start acting strange. GPS readings drift slightly off position. Not enough to cause panic, but enough to confirm something unusual is happening overhead. Inside one control room, an officer raises his hand and stops the chatter. He asks the only question that matters now. Are we reacting, or are we being tested? No one answers right away. Because by this point, everyone understands the risk. A wrong move could turn uncertainty into escalation. A delayed move could expose weakness. Every option feels heavy. Outside, the sea stays calm. No sound reaches the ground. No shadow crosses the coast. But inside those rooms, the first response is already underway, and the pressure is only beginning to build. The pressure does not spike all at once. It stacks. Minute after minute, the contact holds altitude and heading. No sharp turns, no speed change. The pattern feels intentional. Inside Venezuelan command rooms, fatigue starts to show. Eyes stay locked on screens. Coffee goes untouched. Voices drop lower as time stretches on. On radar scopes, returns split and fade. A track appears, then slides a few degrees off, then dissolves into background noise. Operators adjust gain, switch bands, and recalibrate filters. Each adjustment costs time. Each reset creates doubt. In close air defense, even a small delay matters. At 52,000 feet, the B-2 Spirit keeps moving west at a steady pace. The aircraft does not challenge defenses directly. It stretches them. It forces systems to work harder just to stay relevant. Electronic pressure increases slightly. Not enough to shut systems down, just enough to blur the picture. Some radar sectors fill with clutter. Others briefly go quiet. Controllers cross-check with backup feeds. The overall image never fully clears. Su-30 crews remain strapped into their seats. Engines idle. The order to launch still does not come. Commanders understand the risk. Scrambling without a firm lock could end in failure within minutes. Holding position feels safer, but it also feels exposed. As the hours drag on, small problems begin to stack into bigger ones. Consoles run hot. Operators rotate positions, but no one truly rests. A junior technician reports a brief system freeze, then clears it. Another flags inconsistent timestamps between sensors. None of it is critical on its own. Together, it shows strain. Outside, there is no sound but the ocean. Inside, the room hums with equipment and controlled tension. One supervisor calls for patience. Another quietly prepares for escalation. Both know this situation cannot hold forever. The message is sinking in now. One side can stay calm, invisible, and precise. The other must react to shadows, guessing which signal is real and which is not. If you believe Venezuela should have pushed harder at this moment, comment 1. If you think holding fire was the smarter move under this pressure, comment 9 and subscribe to stay with us as this confrontation continues. The shift does not come with an alarm. It comes quietly. For several minutes, the picture looks the same. Faint returns, broken tracks, unstable angles. Then one system briefly tightens its focus. Not a full lock, just enough to feel like progress. Inside the room, heads lift. Someone leans forward. For a moment, it feels like control might be coming back. Then, the signal bends. What looks like a solid return pulls slightly to the left. Range numbers stop matching speed. The track holds for 2 seconds, then breaks apart into empty space. Operators freeze, unsure which data to trust. What no one sees yet is the reason: a false reflection. A carefully shaped signal meant to draw attention just far enough away from the real path. The B-2 Spirit never changes altitude. It never turns. It never reacts. The aircraft simply keeps moving, letting the defense systems chase something that was never there. A supervisor quietly clears the screen and asks for a reset. Another officer shakes his head. They both understand the same thing at the same time. This was not a failure of effort. It was a lesson. The systems did exactly what they were built to do. They just were not built for this kind of target. Around the room, tension shifts into something heavier. Not panic, not anger. Realization. They are not behind because they reacted too slowly. They are behind because the gap is structural. And the most unsettling part is this. The crew does not know if this was the main event or just a setup for what comes next. Because the aircraft is still there, still silent, still untouchable. And the turn that just happened tells them one thing clearly. This situation is no longer under their control. The final phase arrives without warning. There is no sudden maneuver, no burst of speed, no sharp descent. The B-2 Spirit remains exactly where it has been for hours, high above the Caribbean, steady and unreadable. Inside Venezuelan command rooms, the tension reaches its peak. Operators stop switching settings. There is nothing left to adjust. Screens show noise where clarity should be. Timelines no longer line up. The systems are running, but confidence is gone. A senior officer breaks the silence. His voice is calm, almost flat. Maintain observation. No escalation. For a moment, no one moves. Then a short update comes in from another sector. Same result. No lock, no solution. 3 seconds pass where no one speaks. In that pause, the meaning becomes clear. This was never about forcing a launch. It was about proving that one was unnecessary. At altitude, the aircraft begins its planned exit. Not a turn that can be followed cleanly, just a gradual shift that blends into background noise. The contact weakens, stretches, then fades until the screen shows nothing at all. As the signal disappears, supervisors begin logging timelines by hand. Timestamps, frequency changes, gaps that should not exist. Every note leads to the same conclusion. The defense network worked as designed, but design was not enough. In one corner of the room, a young operator stares at the last frozen frame before the display went clear. He rewinds it once, then stops. There is nothing new to see. That absence says more than any confirmed track ever could. A quiet order moves through the chain. Stand down from peak alert. Maintain watch. Prepare reports. The words sound routine, but everyone understands what they mean. This phase is over. The evaluation has already been delivered. Outside, the sea remains calm. Traffic resumes. The night looks ordinary again. But inside the command rooms, no one believes this was the end. They know what comes next will not be louder. It will be smarter. If this moment proved who truly controls the sky, press 9. If you believe restraint prevented something worse, press 1. And subscribe to stay with us as the consequences begin to unfold. By the time morning arrives, the Caribbean looks normal again. Commercial flights resume their routes. Cargo ships continue east and west. From the outside, there is no sign that anything unusual happened overnight. Inside military channels, it is a different story. Reports move quietly from one secure desk to another. Timelines are compared. Radar behavior is reviewed frame by frame. Electronic disruptions are mapped down to the second. Every reaction is measured, not for blame, but for learning. For us planners, the outcome is clear. The mission achieved exactly what it was meant to do. No weapons released, no airspace violated. Yet the full response cycle was observed from start to finish. That data now feeds directly into planning cells under U.S. Southern Command, shaping future posture in the region. For Venezuela, the impact is quieter but heavier. Public statements stress readiness and control. Officials speak of sovereignty and calm. But behind closed doors, commanders understand what was exposed. Detection limits, reaction delays, decision pressure under uncertainty. None of that shows up on television. The real cost is not damage, it is fatigue. Crews pushed for hours without resolution. Systems strained without a clear threat to strike. That kind of stress accumulates. It does not fade when the screens go dark. Across the region, other capitals take note. Allies watch carefully. So do rivals. A message has been sent without a single explosion. The sky itself has become the signal. This was not about today. It was about tomorrow. About showing that presence can be asserted without escalation. That control can be demonstrated without force. And that is what makes this moment dangerous in a different way. Because the next time this happens, it may not look the same. The response may change, the tolerance may shrink, the margin for error may disappear. What happened over the Caribbean was not an ending, it was a test. And tests are usually followed by something harder. If you think this flight was a smart warning that prevented a bigger conflict, comment 9. If you believe it only raised the risk of a future clash, comment 1. And subscribe now, because the next move in the Caribbean may come without any warning at all.